everybody, it's your friend and your guy and your favorite biased Steam Deck fanboy, Gardiner. Halo the Master Chief Collection finally has online multiplayer support, but there is a catch. Plus, Framework has 2230 NVMe's back in stock, Sony has a new handheld in development, and a lot more. That's right, it's Steam Deck news time. Alright, Halo the Master Chief Collection has finally enabled easy anti-cheat on Steam Deck. Now, if you're not aware, the Master Chief Collection has been one of the primary examples of games that were listed as unsupported because of their anti-cheat solution, even though you could launch the game and play any of the single-player or LAN game modes on deck when anti-cheat was disabled. Because of the unsupported anti-cheat, the game is ranked as unsupported on the Steam Deck. The fact that Master Chief Collection is now shipping support for the Steam Deck, with their update notes promising further deck support in the future, is great to see. There are a few known issues with this edition of Steam Deck support though. Oddly enough, launching the game with one of the provided launch options will actually do the opposite of what the label for that option says. For example, launch with anti-cheat disabled will actually launch with anti-cheat enabled, which is super weird. There are also some instances of freezing and crashing when leaving a party in the game. And lastly, and most importantly, Steam Deck players may only play campaign co-op or Spartan Ops with other deck players. Otherwise, cross-platform play will eventually result in a connection interrupted errors or disconnection. It is unclear at this point if these issues, especially that last one, will be resolved, but hopefully 343 and Valve can work together to resolve this issue, especially if it's more of Proton's fault than anything else. The game is still rated as unsupported, but eventually should get at least a playable rating as soon as it goes through the rating process again. Next up, Framework. Now, if you're looking for a massive Steam Deck storage upgrade and you're willing to shell out over $300, then Framework has the 2TB 2230 NVMe drives back in stock. These are Western Digital SN740s, and they're available for $299. Including tax and shipping, you're looking at over $300, and even for an enthusiast, that's an eye-watering price. But we do know that there is demand for this because, well, these drives are back in stock after having sold out. So I would advise to get your hands on them as soon as possible if it's something you want for your Steam Deck. So according to Insider Gaming, Sony is working on a new PlayStation branded handheld. Their reporting suggests that the new handheld is codenamed Q-Lite, and it will apparently require you to own a PlayStation 5 to play it. That's right, Sony's taking the Nintendo approach of the PlayStation 5 and creating a mess of devices that tie you into their console ecosystem. The GBA e-reader connected to the GameCube, anybody? Apparently, the Q-Lite will be a local streaming device that relies on Sony's Remote Play protocol. This device will apparently need constant internet connectivity in order to function, and with that last piece of the puzzle, it says to me that this thing will be dead on arrival. Though the codename Q-Lite does suggest that there might be a more Q regular? I'm not sure. But if Sony released a new handheld console, that would be quite interesting. I was a huge fan of the PSP, and it would be interesting to pit a standalone handheld PlayStation against the likes of the Deck, its wannabe competitors, and the Switch. So what do you think? How will Sony's streaming handheld work? Sound off in the comments below. Tonight at 6:30 p.m. Eastern, we're going to be live streaming. We're playing games on Steam Deck, live streaming it right to you guys. We have a blast every time we do this, so make sure you don't miss that tonight. Now, as they've been doing for months at this point, the Steam Deck's official Twitter account has released this last month's most played games. It's fascinating to me how similar this month is to last month. The #1 spot goes to Hogwarts Legacy, with #2 being Elden Ring, followed up by Stardew Valley, Vampire Survivors, Octopath Traveler 2, Red Dead Redemption 2, Grand Theft Auto 5, Dead Cells, Cyberpunk 2077, Brotato, and Hades. Besides Vampire Survivors and Stardew switching spots, and Skyrim dropping a few positions, the top 10 are pretty much the same as last month. I know that I tend to play games that are easy to pick up and put down at a moment's notice, but I'd love to know what games you are playing on deck. Leave me a comment below and tell me your favorite. And while you're down there, why not like that smash button? When you do, you'll be well on your way to seeing videos just like this one. You can also subscribe if that's more your speed. I want to give a special shout out to Dan Henschel, one of my top tier Singularity members over on Patreon. It's because of Dan and the 77 other members who make what I do here a reality. It keeps the lights on, and we do have a lot of lights. Use the links below to show your support and get your name listed over here. And thanks. Okay, I've got to let you guys know about ChimeraOS. If you haven't heard of it, it's a fantastic Linux-based operating system that provides users with a SteamOS-like experience. When you first boot up the OS, it immediately starts downloading the latest Steam client and then boots you right into Steam Deck mode. And that's right, it's Steam Deck mode. This doesn't appear to be big picture mode that you would see on your desktop, as there are several nods to the Steam Deck itself. But you can also exit Steam and head to the desktop. This is not the same desktop as SteamOS either, it's running GNOME. GNOME is my personal favorite desktop, and it's an interesting choice here for a gaming handheld. Now, ChimeraOS can be installed on your desktop, but it also works great for handhelds too. For example, I installed it on my GPD Win 2, and I've got to say that this hardware is well supported by ChimeraOS. While the installation was displayed in landscape mode because this is a landscape native display, when the OS booted for the first time, it was in the proper orientation. The touchscreen works without issue, the keyboard and mouse work as expected, and there's a surprising level of performance here that I simply wasn't seeing on this device with Windows installed on it. Plus, it's really nice to never need to switch the controller to mouse mode. But the latest release of ChimeraOS, version 41, ships with improved Steam Deck support too. So if you're looking for another operating system for your deck, ChimeraOS is a great option. Let me know in the comments if you'd like to see me put ChimeraOS on my Steam Deck. Next up, if you're a fan of Half-Life, you've got a reason to rejoice. Half-Life Alyx has a NoVR mod that allows you to play the game without VR. And yes, this includes on the Steam Deck. The setup seems relatively simple. Just download the game through Steam, then download the NoVR mod files, copy the game folder to the Half-Life Alyx directory, and then modify the game's launch parameters to include -NoVR-vsync. On Steam Deck, you can also include the -W1280-8800 parameters as well. There are still some issues and missing features with this mod. Importantly, only the first 7 out of 11 total chapters of the game are actually playable at this point. Also, secondary weapon fire, gravity gloves, and weapon upgrade terminals are not working at this point. Despite this being a work in progress, it's an excellent experience nonetheless. If you want to see this game running on the Steam Deck, leave me a comment and let me know. I would love to cover this for you. Now, as is tradition around here, we typically end these videos talking about the software updates for the Steam Deck. And Valve really never slows down updates regarding Proton or the Steam Deck. While there haven't been massive changes in these updates, it's always good to see bug fixes and game improvements. For the Steam Deck beta client update, we see a couple of changes, including a fix to autosaves getting lost and the in-game overlay causing some crashing introduced in the last beta. The hits keep coming from Valve because just a day later, they put out another Steam Deck beta client update. A lot of the fixes revolve around audio, but there's also a fix for 4K displays not displaying a video at boot until after the deck is reconnected. And then moving on to Proton Experimental, last Friday, Valve put out an update addressing Epic's online services failing in-game. This includes the likes of Fall Guys and Returnal, and while you may not be playing a lot of Returnal on deck, I'm sure plenty of people will be happy to see Fall Guys in a better state. Finally, we have Glorious Eggroll working to improve the poor state of The Last of Us Part 1 released on PC. The Last of Us did receive some hotfixes that seem to help performance a little bit, and hopefully the fixes introduced in GE Proton 7-54 will get the game even closer to a playable state on deck, though I wouldn't start holding my breath quite yet. Well, I think that's going to do it for this week's video. Did we miss a news story? Let us know in the comments. And stay tuned on Sunday morning when we bring you a brand new episode of Press Steam to Start. It's our podcast where Jackson and I talk about the biggest PC gaming news of the week. ViewSync Premium members get access to the audio podcast, while the video version is right here on the channel via the new podcast feature. Speaking of ViewSync Premium, I want to thank everyone who supports this show, from patrons to YouTube members to ViewSync Premium. It's because of these fine folks that I've been able to continue building this show into what it's become today. If you believe in the work that I'm doing, you can pledge your support with the links below and even get your name listed over here. It's all greatly appreciated. That's going to do it for this video though. Thank you so much for spending your time with me here today, and I'll see you next time.